Hey everybody, it's John at 2A Talking Tactical. I hope you all are having a great day. It is almost Friday. It is May 23rd, Thursday of 2024. So back in March, I did a small video making y'all or bringing y'all aware of a situation that happened in Little Rock, Arkansas involving the executive over the Bill and Hillary Clinton airport in Arkansas, Mr. Brian Malinowski. So, uh, bring everybody up to speed in case you didn't know about it. If you're in the 2A community, I'm sure you are, but I just want to bring everybody up to date. So, on March the 19th at 6:01 a.m., in the wee hours before the sun rose in Little Rock, Arkansas, 10 carloads of ATF agents, along with Little Rock, Arkansas PD, pulled up to the house of Brian Malinowski as he and his wife were asleep just a couple hours before Mr. Malinowski was to get up and get ready and go about his daily routine and go to work and do what he did best. In the events as we know them right now, ATF agents exited their vehicles. They were armed, full body armor. Uh, I'm going to assume nods, night vision. As they approached the house, they put a piece of tape in front or on top of the doorbell camera so that no one inside the residence could see what was going on outside. It has been reported that the power had been cut to the house. Now, I do not know this to be a fact. It has only been reported, and I get that from a hearing that was held a few days ago on Capitol Hill, in where Mr. Malinowski's family's attorney was talking to Jim Jordan and some other members of Congress about how the ATF handled this situation. So a little bit of background, and I have read the search warrant affidavit, the application for the search warrant, and all that. So in a nutshell, it was alleged that Mr. Malinowski was selling firearms without an FFL. He was caught on camera. The ATF agent who submitted for the search warrant uh, gave and I say gave, and I'll get into this in a minute, but I don't know another word to use, but gave the judge some photos of Mr. Malinowski allegedly participating or actively selling, not asking, or selling firearms, not asking for any kind of identification, so on and so on. Also, leading up to this, they had placed a GPS tracker on Mr. Malinowski's vehicle. They were tailing him uh, for at least a week, week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks prior to the execution of the search warrant. So, for whatever reason, they did not. They did not choose to execute the search warrant either during the daylight hours when Mr. Malinowski and or his wife would have been up and at home possibly. They didn't wait for Mr. Malinowski to get home from work. Uh, it was a search warrant. It was not an arrest warrant. So it was just to get property. Uh, they could have executed the search warrant in the middle of the day after Mr. Malinowski had gone to work, and then, call them and say, "Hey, we've got a search warrant. We're inside your house. You might want to come home." Anything like that. There's a lot of what ifs in this. So, um, basically, what happened was, it is, or what I found out yesterday, that it was a no knock search warrant. So there was 57 seconds, just shy of a minute, between the time that the camera had tape placed on it to the time Mr. Malinowski was shot. So, according to his wife, they heard a loud racket, sounded like somebody was busting in the door. According to Miss Malinowski, Mr. Malinowski got up, laid his hands on a pistol, grabbed a magazine, inserted the magazine in the pistol, racked one in the pipe, and he started down the hall. Now he did tell his wife to stay in the bedroom, but she did not. That is reported by the family attorney. So she was standing beside Mr. Malinowski when in the hallway. Uh, as probably any of us would have done, uh, assume that we're being robbed. Mr. Malinowski reportedly fired a shot, and the ATF agents fired back. One of the rounds hit Mr. Malinowski in the head, taking him to the floor. He died of his injuries a couple of days after that. There's a lot of questions involved in this case. So one of the big questions is, and when all this took place, is people were demanding to see the camera footage from the body worn camera. So it was confirmed that none of the agents had body worn cameras on. Now this is a problem because back in May of 2022, May 25th of 2022, our wonderful president, Joe Biden, issued an executive order 14074 on advancing effective, accountable policing and criminal justice practices to enhance public trust and public safety. So, that being said, uh, ATF was supposed to have all of their agents were supposed to have body worn cameras on, but they're saying that they did not. They didn't have them on their persons, and so therefore it wasn't being recorded. We don't know what happened because the doorbell cam was taped over prior to them busting in the door to the residence. So I've done a little bit of digging here. Um, so here's the application for the search warrant. Now, this is online. You can look at it. But I picked out some things that were kind of interesting to kind of back up what I'm saying. So this is like I said, the application for the search warrant. So the ATF agent, and I'm 99.9% sure it's a female because in the affidavit it says she. It refers to she as being the one of the agents. Anyway, it says the basis for this search under federal crime P41, check one or more. Evidence of a crime was checked. Contraband, fruits of crime, and other items illegally possessed was checked. Property designed for use, intended for use, or used in committing of a crime was checked. What is not checked? A person to be arrested or a person who is unlawfully restrained. So that right there goes to show you they were at that point in time, they were not after Mr. Malinowski. They were only after uh, any firearms, firearm parts, computers, any kind of data recording equipment, anything that they could be used against him. So it was clearly a search warrant. Now, what I find odd about, or not odd, but what I find curious about this is if you look down a little bit below, it says it was stamped, issued by telephone pursuant to Rule 4.1, 41D3 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. Now, I have not looked into that, so I don't know what that means. What brought it to my attention was issued by telephone. So I'm curious to know uh, what was said to the magistrate judge. Um, and as you can see, that was done on March the 6th. So this search warrant was executed at 6:01 a.m. on March the 19th. So that tells you how long they had it. Um, this is another thing that has been in question. Why at 6:01 a.m.? Well, usually you want to do a search warrant, either a no knock, which it was confirmed yesterday. It was a no knock search warrant, but usually you want to do that for an element of surprise, where evidence could be destroyed or done away with. And usually you find that in drug cases. Um, Drugs can be flushed down the toilet or whatever the case may be. We're talking about firearms here. You're not going to flush a firearm down a damn toilet. You're not going to flush parts down the toilet. So anyway, the judge did say they executed on or before March the 20th in the daytime between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. So they had from 6 a.m. all day and even into the night hours up to 10 p.m. And so I highlighted a different color at any time in the day or night because good cause has been established. Now, the reason I highlight that is because they put that there uh, for high risk warrants, high risk search warrants. So they didn't check that. So clearly, the applicant of this search warrant did not feel or did not indicate that this was going to be a high risk search warrant. So why at 6:01 a.m.? Why bust in the door? They could have knocked on the door and said, "Hey, ATF, come to the door. We've got a search warrant." None of that was done. So yeah, this smells. This smells bad. So one of the other things, and I made some notes also here in just a minute, but I wanted to bring a little bit more light to the policy about body worn camera and the search warrants. So what I've got highlighted, and this was for whatever reason put under the same bullet, chokeholds and no knock entry policy. In September of 2021, the department issued a policy banning chokeholds and carotid restraints unless deadly force is authorized and except in exceptional circumstances, limiting to the use of no knock entries, even in some circumstances where the law would allow it. So what that's basically saying is that the applicant to get a no knock search warrant would kind of contradicts what we just saw, was that this would say you could get a no knock search warrant uh, for exceptional circumstances, but even then, um, you know, it's questionable. You better be able to articulate it. So even though the law says, yeah, you can get a no knock search warrant, you kind of got to go above that. Is the way I'm reading it. You kind of got to go above. Well, not only is it the law, but this is why. I've read the affidavit, and there is nothing in there saying this guy was a high risk, that they expected any kind of violence or anything like that. Nothing. Um, and like I said, if you don't want to take my word for it, the affidavit for the search warrant is online. Actually, if you go to my website, 2A Talk, the letter N, tactical.com, I've actually got a link to the search warrant on there. You can go click on that and look. So the other thing, and I'm going to move my big melon here. So the other one that was highlighted was the body worn cameras. So in June 2021, the department issued a policy, and I'll show you the policy here in a minute, on the appropriate use of body worn cameras that required department law enforcement agencies to develop policies that require agents to wear and activate body worn camera recording equipment for purpose of recording their actions during a pre-planned attempt to serve a search warrant. There we go, and other pre planned arrest or the execution of a search or seizure warrant, and included in a presumption that body worn camera recordings depicting conduct resulting in serious bodily injury or death of another will be released as soon as practical. So, yeah. So, not only did it stink 45 seconds ago, it stinks even more now. Um, So here's the policy. So up at the top, you'll see it was dated June 7th of 2021. But when you read down at the highlighted part, says in October of 2020, the department announced a policy that permits state and local officers of Department of Justice task forces to wear and activate BWCs, body worn cameras, when the use of force is possible. while serving arrest warrants, executing other planned arrest operations, and during the execution of search warrants. Today, which would have been June 7th, 2021, based on recommendations from the department's law enforcement components, I am directing the acting director of the Bureau of ATF, uh, the acting administrator of DEA, and the director of the FBI, and the director of U.S. Marshal Service to develop and submit for review within 30 days component BWC policies that require agents to wear and activate BWC recording equipment for purposes of recording their actions during a pre-planned attempt to serve an arrest warrant or other pre-planned arrest, including apprehension of fugitives. It goes on in the execution of a search or seizure warrant order. So there again, it's in black and white. And the question is, well, why didn't they have body worn cameras? So the hearing that I watched yesterday, they were basically explaining that apparently the ATF in their budget request has not received any body worn cameras. I have a big issue with this. If this was done in 2021, and here we are almost 3 years to the month later, and you've got a policy, Department of Justice policy, saying that these agents should be, there's a policy telling them they have to wear a body worn camera and it has to be on when they're doing this sort of stuff, that they don't have body worn cameras because they don't have the money or they haven't put in for it or whatever the case may be. So that stinks even more. So here's a couple of bullet points that I picked out yesterday during the hearing. So the no knock search warrant are only used if the agent without a doubt believes it would be an extreme risk to agents and civilians. It is highly restricted and has to be articulated in the affidavit. Two, the search warrant has been granted, the search warrant had been granted for a week before it was executed. They did not execute the search warrant, and it was noted that they wanted Mr. Malinowski there when they executed the search warrant. I don't know why they wanted him there. There was not an arrest warrant. All they were looking for was guns and gun parts and any kind of paperwork. Um, they were tracking, surveilling, and following Mr. Malinowski and had plenty of opportunities to execute the search warrant. That was also pointed out in this hearing. And so, two of those words, some of y'all may think are redundant, but let me explain. So, they were tracking because they had placed a GPS tracking device on his vehicles, and that's spelled out in the affidavit for the search warrant. They were watching him. They followed him to and from work, and they were watching him at his house. There was even some information when he'd gotten home from work about supposedly pulling out well, let me rephrase that. So that morning before he went to work, he apparently put a box that they believe to be uh, a box that a Glock firearm comes in his back seat or back floorboard. And then when he got home that afternoon, he did not get it out or something to that effect. So anyway, they were watching him. Uh, the power was cut off to the house just prior to the execution of the search warrant. I, why would you, if you're executing a search warrant, why would you cut the power to the house? That is beyond me. Um, Me personally, I would want to have the power on so I could turn on the lights to see if I could find what I'm looking for. That makes no sense. This has writing on the wall that they had something else in mind, and I'll just leave it at that. And there again, like I said, 57 seconds from the time the tape was placed over the camera and Brian was shot, and Miss Malinowski was standing right beside her husband when he was shot. So, Mr. Dettelbach was supposed to be in a congressional hearing. I believe it was yesterday or today. I can't remember which. And they were going to question him on this. I have seen some snippets of the video or of the hearing. Again, I don't know if it was being held today or if it was yesterday, but there was some snippets of it, and he's basically clamming up because it is an active and ongoing investigation. So there's very little he can say. Uh, but they were giving him hell. There was one blonde-headed female congresswoman. I don't know where she's from. She has a thick accent. She was giving Mr. Dettelbach hell on this ATF rule. So anyway, I wanted to bring y'all up to date on that. I know some of y'all have been wondering what's been going on with it. Like I said, I put a video out right after it happened. Some of you may have watched it, some of you may have not. I didn't have a lot of information then. Still don't have a lot right now, but I do have more than I did then. So I wanted to bring you up to date on that. So anyway, I appreciate you all watching. Also, I want to mention to you all, if you like this sort of content, Second Amendment content, um, just content about different kind of subjects, political subjects, what's going on in the world today across the big pond, whatever the case may be. Come see us on X. We've got a X platform. It's called We the People. You can follow Joe Lanou and the Night Court crew. His X is Joe _ LNU Lanou. Go follow him. We're all also on YouTube, Rumble. Not all exactly sure where they are streaming, but you can find us on X, YouTube, and Rumble. So go check us out. A lot of times we have interaction with our viewers, whatever it is we're talking about. We'll go through it. Like tomorrow night, we do this every Friday night. We review and go over police use of force. We'll go over that, and we want to hear y'all's input. Right or wrong, everything's respectful. We want to keep it that way. So yeah, go check us out. We're going to be doing a border segment tonight on what's going on at the border, and it is Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. And then we have an after party after that, also on X. So if you're interested, if you got an X account, go look up Joe Lanou and the Night Court crew, and follow him, follow me. I'm under 2A Talk and Tactical. You can follow any of us, and we're all the time putting out teasers and advertisement for the show. So anyway, want to thank y'all again, and remember, tomorrow's Friday. Please stay safe, stay armed, and stay blessed, and I hope you have a good weekend.